I'm excited to introduce Genia Fuller, who is a 3-time Freestyle World Champion and honored member of the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. Today, she is an EMT and an EMT instructor, which led her to working as a film set medic. Welcome to the show, Genia.
Thank you so much for having me and thinking of me.
Yeah, wow, what a life. What made you transition from a freestyle skier to becoming an EMT, emergency medical technician?
Well, I became a single mom in 1991 and worked retail for about 17, 18 years and found a disaster preparedness team in Simi Valley and absolutely loved it. And we were asked who was available to go down to Katrina in 2005. And I raised my hand. I don't know. I just felt like I needed to go. I was not an EMT at that time, and I felt like I couldn't do enough. So I came back, and I ended up proctoring skills, which means being a tester of skills for other EMTs for renewal and initial certification. And then I started teaching EMT, first aid, CPR. And so for me, even with the skiing, it was getting people to enjoy themselves. So I guess you could say I've always been a caretaker, but the EMT suits me very well. I'm, your best friend in an emergency. I don't panic, not a screamer.
Yeah.
And I've been in some pretty extraordinary circumstances.
Wow. So how did you get the opportunity to work on a film set?
I have another friend who does standby medical, which is another phase of or facet of EMT. You can do youth sports, you can do events. I've done raves. I've had a whole football team, the youth Warriors up in Santa Clarita. They did all their games. I had Cesar Chavez High School. My friend asked me to cover a medical shift for her set medic shift, which I did. So they liked what I did, so I was invited back several times. It's something that I pursued on a regular basis, because there are other things that I do as well. I've met some terrific people. They like how I present myself and the fact that now I'm a COVID compliance officer, so I keep them safe and make sure the sets are the way they should be. I try not to do things with overly intricate stunt work. There are other people that are safer doing that than me, and I know that. And the big thing is knowing your limitations.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we did where I was teaching was we were recertified a lot of set medics. And unfortunately, a lot of them were not prepared. They were not up on the regular and new protocols. So it was interesting, they would get mad and, went away angry. And it's like, in my heart, if I'm going to work on a set, I better know my stuff, because these are other people's lives at stake. Yes, I have extra little things that they might need on set, or things, if they're in a fight scene, or, things get tweaked and stretched and, they're uncomfortable. And if an actor or actor, I guess I could recall, we refer to both of them, is uncomfortable, that doesn't make them happy. And that puts stress on the producers and the other castmates for that production. But it's something that I really enjoy. I've met some amazing people. You're one of them. And, it's just, I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, you were really great on set. Very nice. I was just curious, what are the qualifications and training that is required to be a set medic? I mean, do you have to be an EMT? Do you need license certifications?
It's a certification. And when you go through EMT school, and I'll speak for here in California, you are getting certified for your state of California license. The initial certification, you have to do what we call the National Registry Test. And that is the certification for California, but it also gives your national NREMT, we call it. So in order to be a set medic, yes, you have to be minimum level NEMT. There are paramedics, there are nurses, there are other people that do it, but minimum requirement is EMT.
Yeah, because I would think that you would need to be, because you're dealing with people's lives, I don't think anybody should just be able to get in.
Exactly.
And then what are some of the common medical situations or emergencies that you've had to deal with on set?
I've had fractures. I've had loss of fingers, lacerations. I've had head injuries, or because of my prior life, I should say, I kind of watch at a different level. So we had one production where it was a young man being lifted off his bed, and they had just a rope around his waist, which meant he was basically sandwiched backward. So I made them change the rigging on that. So he's a young kid, and, I didn't want him to hurt his back for the rest of his life. And the mom came over to me and said, "Thank you so much for doing that." I was wondering that, she didn't want to say anything and disrupt, but that's my job as well. Is the stunt safe? Is the machinery involved in it safe? So there's a lot of little aspects. They usually will show me the weaponry before they hand it to the actor, machete or sword or hatchet, that they're rubber, that they're not real metal, unless they're using like EPIs and a fencing and guns, that it is unloaded, that there is no ammunition in the gun. So I've been put in a lot of different situations, and it's my responsibility to keep a level head, not hover, but be aware of what's going on in the set, and not be afraid to add my 2 cents as far as you think we could do this a little differently. I think on the set that we were on, there was a scene where they were beating the gentleman on the ground. And although they were being very careful, in my head, when somebody is being attacked, they roll into a ball. They don't just stay wide open. It's a self-preservation thing. And I kind of mentioned that a little bit, and goes, "Oh yeah, you're right. And it's not that I'm right every time or I have to be right every time, but you can suggest something, not demand something, and you'll be told, "No, I don't want to do it that way. No, I don't think so." And it's like, okay, just a suggestion.
Have you ever had to step in and say, wait a minute, we cannot move forward with this?
Yes, with that young man that was being lifted from his bed.
That's good. Have you ever had somebody come back and say, well, wait a minute, this is what we're wanting to do, and any pushback that you've had to deal with?
Yes, and I'll give them the medical issue for the issue that I'm seeing, which was, it was very unnatural for him to be sandwiched backward, because he was being lifted face up at least 10 feet off the bed, and there was no support on his back. So they changed the rigging to make it more like a rope climbing rigging, so it supported his legs. So it was like a little basket, more than just the single strand. So I'm not afraid to do that, but I try to be diplomatic in there, and like as a suggestion, just a question: is there a different way we could do this? And you've got to be, because this is your family that you're responsible for that day, or, however long the shoot is, and although the scope of practice for EMTs is not handing out medication, I just keep it on the table, and if they see it, they may have it. I don't hand it to them. That's beyond our scope of practice, so to speak. But they get headaches. Everybody gets headaches. Everybody has aches and pains. Sometimes your stomach is way off. So, it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, just back to the kid that was being raised up, you really are their advocate. I mean, because sometimes the production isn't, or not thinking that way, not thinking about the consequences.
Right. Not that they're intentionally putting him in danger, but it's just they weren't thinking about the physicality of it, or the kinesiology factor. What happens when you're pulled this way, or, what are the forces, the opposing forces and stuff. And I look at it differently. Lord knows I've been in different situations. But I look at things a little differently than a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, and you should. I mean, because you're looking through a different lens than they are. It's funny. All crew members are looking in a lens through their department. I was curious, how do you prepare for a film shoot in terms of medical supplies and equipment? I mean, what are your essential items in your medical kit that you always have handy or need to bring? And do you have prep before the shoot? I mean, do you read the script and kind of know what's going on?
Sometimes they'll send me a script, which I do read through because I want to know, what the stunts are. Sometimes it comes in late, and so I don't get a chance to review it as closely as I would. But I travel with a trauma kit, which is bandages and all that stuff, ice packs. I always carry a real ice with me. I'm adamant about that versus the snap and crack cold packs. Those last you about 5 minutes, and then they're not very functional to me. Some people like them, but I usually try to bring real ice with me because of the importance of like sprains and strains and, keeping the inflammation from getting too out of hand. I also travel with a pink box. It's my set medic box. And that has throat lozenges, chapstick, and I think about myself and things that I want to have handy. Imodium, Tylenol, Aleve. People don't like Aleve. They want acetaminophen or they want other things. And so I do have that available. Icy hot, Bengay. Some people like Bengay, some people don't. Some people like icy hot, some people don't. So, it's funny to see the different things, likes and dislikes of people. I have additional supplies in my car. That's why I asked to park closer, because I have a lot of stuff in there, extra stuff that I can always, even jackets and sweatshirts and that type of thing. I have blankets, I have this one thing that folds into a pillow.
Oh, that's great.
But you can unzip it and it's a blanket. So you can use it for ground cover.
Yeah.
Or if somebody's going into shock, you can cover them up. So, I have things like that.
How do you ensure a safe working environment with the crew and the production team? Like the AD will give the safety speech in the beginning. You probably chime in as well. So what are some things that you can do?
I do chime in. In some of the sets I've been on, we had this cactus at the corner of the house that everybody had to go by. And everybody was getting cactus needles in their arms and, in their clothing. And so fortunately, I usually carry a couple of pair of tweezers. So we had some tweezer sessions trying to get those out. Bee stings, what are the problems with that? Are they going to go into anaphylaxis or are they just going to get a mild reaction? You need to watch it, and I'm very, very gentle with children on set, but I can gain their trust and make sure that they're okay with me doing things. Moms are important, but I always chime in on the safety briefing and let them know I'm here for them. If there's an issue, come talk to me. I'll do the best I can to, help you get through it or fix it or whatever. So yeah, I do chime in on the safety briefings and I do look around. For me, situational awareness is one of the biggest things. What's around you? What is there that can create a danger to any of the cast members? And COVID testing, oh my God.
Is that still going on?
It's the producer's discretion. One of the later shoots I was on, I ended up testing the whole cast and crew daily.
Wow.
So it was, I can do COVID tests in no time.
All right.
It was laborious, but it was the producer's request. And I'm not going to question that. If that's the way he and or she would like to run the set. And we did have a positive, so we masked everybody up, wiped everything down, got everything clean and tidy, isolated the positive for a couple of days. And, I've had the plethora of stuff to go on. And you turn on a dime and, change at the drop of a hat and make sure that everyone is safe, comfortable, and not just safe. I want them to be comfortable. If they're not, I want them to be able to talk to me and or the producer and find out what they're not comfortable with. Can
you walk us through your process of assessing and treating an injured crew member or cast member?
I'll give you, the other day I was working a dog show, but it pertains to these type of things. When you're assessing a patient, there's little acronyms that you have in the EMT or medical world, and you do that. Your sample is signs and symptoms, allergies, medications, previous medical situations and what led up to this incident. So you're constantly asking questions. The answers that you get will tell you, are they breathing correctly? Are they coherent? Are they alert and oriented, as we say? Are they gasping? Are they having pain somewhere? We ask a lot of questions. The EMT process is to package and get ready for transport if necessary. But you always want to check bleeding, life threats. Bleeding, excessive bleeding is a life threat. Airway compromise is a life threat. Fractures, depending on where they are, your femur is a bleeding issue. So, you got to get that together. I do carry tourniquets. I carry plenty of those. And we're working on, I'm going to be doing a stop the bleed exercise for the Oxnard Police Department in January. So these are tactical wounds.
Oh, that's good.
So I kind of have a little extra training on this stuff. So I'm a good person to have on the set because I'll help you. I stay calm and I'm comfortable with whatever I get through.
Who typically hires you on set? Like, how does one get from being an EMT to getting on set?
Well, the industry is oftentimes not what you know, but who you know. And so, word gets around. If you do a good job, that's a positive light. I work for some people more than others. I've enjoyed the people that I've worked with, and they have hired me, again and again. I don't do it on a regular basis. Physically, it's just, I can't right now. But these are people I keep in touch with. I'll send them a little note. Hey, thinking about you, so on and so forth. Oh, we have a gig. We have a gig coming up. So it's not like I say, oh, hire me. It's like, hey, I just wanted to say hi, see how you're doing, and check in. And again, it's not being so assertive. There are people that can be really assertive, and I suppose that is a way to be, but it's people that I've met along the way that are comfortable with what I do, or they like what I do, and they're comfortable having me back on set.
And are you typically hired by the producer?
Yes.
How do you handle confidentiality and privacy concerns when dealing with medical issues with cast and crew? You were saying that there are some things that you don't deal with, but would you know, if somebody's a diabetic or somebody has allergies, is that something that the producer should let you know?
In the safety briefing, I do bring up if there are any medical issues that I need to be aware of. We can have a private conversation. The HIPAA laws cover me no matter where I am. Privacy, Health Information Privacy Act. So I can't discuss what it is. And on a set, it's hilarious. Well, what happened? What's the problem? And it's like, they're okay.
Yeah.
But what happened? And I can't discuss it. This is private information.
Yeah.
So even with, a positive COVID test, I then go to the producer, have a private discussion with him. He has a discussion with the person that was tested positive, and they decide what is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's private information. Is just that. It's private.
What are some of the typical things that people would bring up to you?
Sometimes people don't eat, so they get faint. So again, our line of questioning is, what did you eat? When did you last eat? Have you hydrated? A lot of times it's hydration. And a lot of times some of the gals are on these silly diets or crazy diets that they believe in, and that's totally up to them. It's not for me to criticize. But if they're not fed and they're not hydrated, they're going to have issues. Yes, I've had a couple of faintings, but that was basically what was the problem. I've had diabetics, so I'll make sure their medication is in a refrigerated area, whether it's type 2 or type 1 diabetes. So, you have to have the knowledge of this and keep up with the current protocols and not just hope that your initial training will carry you through it.
Don't you need to be recertified every couple of years or relicensed?
Every 2 years, yes. And for state certification, we have to do 24 continuing education credits. For national, we have to do 42 continuing education credits. You can put a 24-hour refresher course in that, which some people are more hands-on, so they want to be in a classroom to do the 24-hour. And then you have to recertify all your skills. And skills have changed. over the years. Some are mandatory and some are not mandatory that were a while ago.
Now, do you recommend that if somebody wanted to become a set medic, well, first they have to become an EMT or be an EMT, but do you think that they should be working as an EMT for X amount of years before considering being on a set, then jumping right to it?
It would be beneficial for the actors, actresses, and staff to have somebody that has experience. But yes, because the younger kids don't have that situational awareness or reaction time, or even the thought pattern to go from one place to another because something's not adding up. So yes, it would be nice if they had experience, but that doesn't always happen. Again, it's not what you know, sometimes it's who you know.
Yeah.
And you can get experience on the set. A lot of the kids are kids of fire personnel or cops or whatever. So they've been involved in a lot of that stuff, but they want to do an ambulance or they want to get onto fire. They have no desire to do like set medic or anything like that. And then there are those that just want to do set medic, but they just don't have the experience. You get experience no matter what you do, but there's a process. You can either get on a 911 rig ambulance, which doesn't happen all the time right off the bat because they want you to have experience, or there's IFTs, inter-facility transfers, and these are your transport services that take patients from nursing homes to their dialysis appointments or to a doctor's appointment and that type of thing. Well, those patients can crash just as easily as anybody else. So you get the experience of driving an ambulance, having to respond to a situation if it arises, moving patients, that type of thing. So that's a great initial experience. Getting on a 911 rig, you got to know your stuff.
Yeah.
You have to know your stuff.
Well, and dealing with blood and violence and all of that. I mean, you never know what you're going to be going into.
And that's very true. And especially today with a lot of mental illnesses that we're facing, the first responders get nailed a lot because they're not aware of these mental issues that are present at a given time. And so you learn to kind of judge, not just jump. You learn to kind of observe as the production goes on to see, there's anxiety, there's panic attacks, there's so many things, so many different things. There's bipolar, there's, schizophrenia. And these are like people on the street when, like we were outside on that one set.
Right, yeah.
In downtown Long Beach, you bet your bippy there's people that have a lot of mental issues that are right there. Those two police officers watching the set overnight, which was awesome.
There was the downtown scene. I think it was in LA. I wasn't on that. I think they were in a church, but it's pretty much near Skid Row of downtown. Were you there on that? Yeah. Somebody had mentioned that it was almost like Escape from New York.
It can be.
Fire burning. There was an electrical from the line. And luckily, it was in a confined area. Did you find that the outside was affecting the inside or anything that you needed to be aware of?
Yeah.
That more security.
It's more security, but it is something that I need to be aware of. If somebody goes down, like right outside where we're shooting, heck yes. I'm not on call for that type of thing, but, it's in close proximity to what we're doing. You're dealing with noise of an ambulance. You're dealing with noise from fire. You're dealing with noise that disrupts the whole production. The quicker we can deal with that and get that taken care of so the production doesn't shut down for, an extended period of time, that's a good thing. I'm very aware of, time limitations, lighting, whether we're inside or outside, props that boom, things that might not be safe. The horror films, that's a whole other ball. It's like, is it real blood or is that fake blood?
Right.
Wait a minute. Yeah. So they'll usually let me know what's going on.
Any words of advice to maybe producers or directors or production teams on what to think about when it comes to safety and having a set medic on set?
Well, I believe it's mandatory that they have a set medic, if I'm not mistaken. find the ones that have the experience, that have the knowledge. The teaching was awesome for me because I really got to figure out how to get the information across to the kids. This generation likes to memorize, but they don't always digest the information. So they can, relate it by rote, but not by practice. So find your EMTs that know their stuff. Encourage them to recertify and know the current protocols. Ask them, do you have all the current protocols? CPR changes every 5 years. So, and as an EMT, you have to be certified in CPR every 2 years.
How much experience do you think somebody would need? 2 years, 3 to 5? Like, what would your recommendation be?
2 years would be wonderful. But again, a lot of times a younger EMT will be taken under the wing of an older, more experienced EMT. And sometimes they show them the ropes, which is cool. But each set is different. The space that you're working in is different. So you have to be aware of the spatial availability, where you're going to be to watch. I try not to interfere with the production, but I am right there if anything goes down. And that's what you need to do. You need to be available. People need to have the trust in you to be available. There are times when all hell breaks loose, and you better be able to handle it and go in 10 different directions at once. So the more experience you have, the better. But how do you get that experience? If you have somebody that can take you under the wing and say, bring you along to observe, great. And some of these guys are getting older, and so they're willing to share sometimes or have an apprentice with them, and so they can see what goes on. You got to be quiet. You got to have your electronics turned down. You can't be having a conversation, when they're shooting. So, you learn the lingo or the jargon on set. That's not something that you learn it on set. I'm sorry, but you do.
Yeah, I totally agree. And is it typically just a team of one, or is there ever a time where you have more than one person on set as a set medic?
Yes, it depends, and radios are hugely important. It depends on how large the set is. If they're doing stunts at a distance from where you are, but some of the cast is still where you are, it totally depends on the type of set that it is, how many cast members there are. If you're having like a cattle call, I guess, with a large crowd scene, you don't want to just have one. You need to have a couple. I don't know the answer to this, but there may be a ratio of cast and crew to EMTs. I don't know what your answer is on that. I haven't run into that. But the larger the set, the more personnel you need to cover.
And it seems like a job that you have to have a hawk's eye, have to be alert the whole time. It's not like you get to take a little break. It feels that way because you never know what's going to happen.
Correct. It's very true. And you need to be able to move at a second's notice. If something's falling, it's like, heads up, and things happen. Lights crunch, props fall, a secured wall is not secured, windows slide off, or, depending on what the set is used for. So, or we may have, a natural occurrence like an earthquake overnight or, during the set. And then, you need looking where your exits are. I always point those out.
Yeah.
What's your exit strategy?
Yeah.
No, you don't want to go there because it columns, and that can fall as well. Get clear, central meeting place, and be accountable. Don't leave unless you've been accounted for.
Yeah, yeah.
I have that training too.
Yeah, you should always know when somebody's offset and keep track of how many people, especially what you just said, an earthquake or, natural disaster. You need to know how many people are in the building, how many people's on your crew, who left, who's still there. I didn't even think about that. So any words of advice to future EMTs and film set medics?
If you have a passion for what you do and making sure that people are safe and secure, it's an awesome job. I love it. I wish I could do more. I've enjoyed the cast and crew that I've met. It's not a thing where, you're socializing extensively with people, but you're making them comfortable and you're gaining their trust to know if they have an issue, it's going to be fixed or taken care of or addressed. And as an EMT or a caregiver, So this is a great opportunity to get into that. You know, you might have a little extra training or whatever. I do a lot of sports taping. So if there's an injury, EMTs don't do sports taping 90% of the time. I was fortunate to have some training by a guy that did some Olympic track and field people. Your set medics, ask them if they have extra training. You know, are they aware if there's a scuba diving scene? Are they aware of hyperbaric chambers? Where are they? You know, what are the issues? How do you address atmospheric issues? If you're up in a mountain, high altitude sickness, hello. Yes, I've been all over the world. I've been in different atmospheres. You put that experience to test. If they don't have it, they'd be wise to say, no, I don't.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. This was really fun. I really appreciate it. And working with you was a dream.
Oh, yes, same. Likewise. Thank you so much for listening. I encourage you to get out there and make a film. Reach out to your local filmmakers group to get involved and connect. Please subscribe to the show if you like it, and follow me on Instagram @TammyMcGarrow. Until we meet again, what's your story?